KWT slaying.
Shalom, family. Welcome to another teaching from Teo Ministries. The title of this teaching is The Day the Earth Stood Still, God's Judgments and Israel's Deliverance. Introduction. With the release of COVID-19 by the powers that be, the entire world is on lockdown. America and the world will never go back to what we call normal ever again. Many of you are awaiting the end of our long quarantine, but it will never come. At least it will not come for those who refuse to take a vaccination or chip implant, which could very well be the mark of the beast. Read up on ID 2020 to see what your future may hold. The true Israelites are the target and always have been. Why do you think so-called Africans in China are being kicked out of their homes onto the streets? It is time for them to return to Africa. No one loves the black man, also known as Israelite, but God. The entire world hates us because we are God's chosen people. God is soon to come to deliver us from our hard bondage, and the world will be judged. The Gentiles have brought this upon themselves, and now it is too late for them to turn around as a nation. 400 years of slavery is coming to an end, and the world is in chaos. Call this a coincidence if you like. I don't believe in coincidences. What I'm going to cover in this teaching is not a hard, fast understanding of the scriptures, but is based upon what I believe I see. I may be wrong, but I'm going to share it anyway, and you decide for yourself if it has validity. As we've taught in many teachings, eat the meat, spit out the bones. One thing I want to clarify in this introduction, before I get a lot of emails and texts. Yes, I know. Every black person is not Israel. Okay? So I'm talking about those black people who are of Israel. Those black people who are descendants of Negroes. Hide in thy chambers, Israel. Isaiah 26 verses 19 through 21. Thy dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in dust. For thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were, a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. So one thing we do see here is that God tells his people to go into their homes, close the doors, their chambers where they live. Close the doors until the indignation be overpassed, until the judgment be overpassed, until the pestilence pass by. Similar to how the death angel passed by in the first Exodus. And why is God doing it? He's doing this to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. And as we have shown in other teachings, it is because of what they have done to his people. So, before you go and tell me this was the first Exodus, notice in verse 21 that God is punishing the inhabitants of the earth, not of Egypt. He's punishing the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. So this is not dealing with the first Exodus when they closed the doors with the death angel. Just a little preemptive. Note. Punishment of the nations. We've discussed that God is going to punish the nations for what they have done to his people. Although Israel is getting caught up in this pandemic, God will make a distinction between us and them like he did during the first Exodus. The question we should be asking ourselves is, how far are we from the second Exodus? Will what is happening plunge us into the New World Order, or will we leave the land of our captivity soon? If Israel is no longer under the curse, or is about to no longer be under the curse, then shouldn't we be leaving now? God has stated that he will judge the nations and during the time set his people free. Go read Joel chapter 3. At the time he calls his people back from their captivity is the time he brings the nation together to judge. I am fully waiting for the second Exodus. Though some of Israel has not made it, and more may still not make it, God is coming to save us. Is what we are experiencing written in the Bible, and is it associated with our deliverance? I think it may be. Vengeance. As we saw in Isaiah 26, God told us to hide in our chambers until the indignation be past. And we have seen in previous end-time prophecy teachings that God was going to avenge us of our enemies. Let's look at other scriptures that may identify that this is one of the judgments before our second Exodus. And I'm talking about what we're experiencing now, this COVID-19. I'm talking about what we're experiencing now, shut up in our chambers. I'm talking about what we're experiencing now, where we're going to have food shortages, riots. Things are never going to be the same. Zechariah chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. In the 8th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord unto Zechariah the son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo the prophet, saying, The Lord had been sore displeased with your fathers. Therefore say thou unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will turn unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. Be ye not as your fathers unto whom the former prophets have cried, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Turn ye now from your evil ways and from your evil doings. But they did not hear, nor hearken unto me, saith the Lord. Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, do they live forever? But my words and my statutes, which I commanded my servants the prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? And they returned and said, Like as the Lord of hosts thought to do unto us, according to our ways and according to our doings, so had he dealt with us. So in other words, God said it was going to happen, and it did happen. How many times people tell you, and I'm not talking to Israel who knows already and some of the Gentiles who know. I'm talking about the people who don't know what's happening. The scriptures have warned and warned you that these days will come. Many of his prophets have warned and warned you that these days will come. And some of you still think we're going back to normal. It's not going to happen. Zechariah chapter 1, verses 7 through 11. Upon the 24th day of the 11th month, which is the month Sabbath, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord unto Zechariah the son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo the prophet, saying, I saw by night, and behold, a man riding upon a red horse. And he stood among the myrtle trees that were in the bottom, or valley, and behind him were there red horses, speckled and white. Then said I, O my Lord, what are these? And the angel that talked with me said unto me, I will show thee what these be. And the man that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, These are they whom the Lord hath sent to walk to and fro through the earth. And they answered the angel of the Lord that stood among the myrtle trees, and said, We have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest. Note, family, many times in the Bible, trees has to do with nations. Zechariah chapter 1, verses 12 through 16. Then the angel of the Lord answered and said, O Lord of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which thou hast had indignation these 70 years? That's 70 years. Now some people are going to say, oh, well, see, that's the 70-year captivity of ancient Babylon. Well, let's continue. Remember, we talk about dual prophecies and dual fulfillments. You always got to keep that in mind. And the Lord answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that communed with me said unto me, Cry thou, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy. And I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Therefore thus said the Lord, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith the Lord of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. So the Lord said, look, heathen, I used you, and I'm paraphrasing, I used you as a means to judge my people, to correct them. But you took it too far. That's what he's saying. And now he's judging you. Zechariah chapter 1, verses 17 through 21. Cry yet, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, My cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and the Lord shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Then lifted I up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, 4 horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And the Lord showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I, What come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah, to scatter it. Spiritual inspectors. In verses 8 through 11 of Zechariah chapter 1, we see 3 horses going to and fro throughout the earth, and they noticed that the earth was still and at rest. Now, how do we know these were spirits? Zechariah 6 tells us these are spirits that stand before God day and night. These spirits are probably the same ones sending judgment upon the earth in Revelation 6, where we see the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The color of the horses probably represent the different types of judgments they bring. Let's look at that chapter. Zechariah chapter 6, the horse that quieted God's anger. I had another vision. This time I saw 4 chariots coming out from between 2 bronze mountains. The first chariot was pulled by red horses, the second by black horses, the third by white horses, and the fourth by dappled horses. Then I asked the angel, Sir, what do these chariots mean? He answered, These are the 4 winds. They have just come from the presence of the Lord of all the earth. The chariot pulled by the black horses was going north to Babylonia. The white horses were going to the west, and the dappled horses were going to the country in the south. As the dappled horses came out, they were impatient to go and inspect the earth. The angel said, Go and inspect the earth, and they did. Then the angel cried out to me, The horses that went north to Babylon, or Babylonia, have quieted the Lord's anger. So, if we compare this to Zechariah chapter 1, and we see the red horses and the speckled horses and the white horses, right? And compare these horses in Zechariah chapter 6 to those, we see that these horses represent spirits, right? Or 4 winds that stand in the presence of God. They stand in the presence of the Most High. And we see that in Revelation with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, these horses, these angels, these spirits that stand before God. And in Revelation we see where the scripture says, Come and see, come and see. And we see all the different judgments. The rider on the white horse who has a bow and no arrows, things like that. So we can conclude that even in Zechariah chapter 1, that these colored horses who were going over the world, over the earth, inspecting the world and bringing back a report to God, they said that the earth is still and at rest. Note, as I mentioned in Revelation, we see that those particular horses had to do with judgment. So we can see or assume, let's say, in Zechariah chapter 1, that those red horses and the speckled horse and the white horse all also have to do with judgment. But they came to give a report in Zechariah chapter 1 that the earth was still and at rest. So the day the earth stood still, in verse 11 of Zechariah 1, we see that the earth is still and at rest. And they answered the angel of the Lord that stood among the myrtle trees, and remember we said trees usually have to do with nations, and said, we have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest. Not part of the earth, not one particular country, not a region. The entire earth is still and at rest. Currently, we see that the entire earth sitteth still and is at rest because of COVID-19. Could this be what we are talking about in this verse? I definitely think it's possible. The earth sitteth still. Sitteth still is the word yashab. Yashab can mean to dwell, remain, sit, abide, to sit down, to be set, to remain, stay, to dwell, have one's abode, to be inhabited, to set in place. Now we're going to look at more definitions of yashab. Yashab can mean to remain at home, to remain, abide, followed by an echoes of place. Genesis 25:27. Remaining in the tents, i.e. staying at home. So yashab, sitting still, can mean staying at home, remaining in your tents, remaining in your chambers, having your door closed until the indignation pass by. The four horsemen of the apocalypse that brings judgment. With a dative pleonast. Genesis 22:5, remain here. Okay, so we're going to skip down to another definition. Of those who sit down idly doing nothing or slothful. To sit with anyone, followed by, okay, whatever that Hebrew word is to associate with him. So basically, we're talking about people who are staying at home, doing nothing. Go look it up for yourself. The world is sitting still and at rest. They're doing nothing. What are most of us doing? At home with the door closed because of this COVID-19, at rest, doing nothing. Now the word rest. So we first saw that they're sitting still and at rest. The earth is sitting still and it is at rest. Rest is the word shakat. It means to be quiet, to be tranquil, be at peace, to be quiet, rest, lie still, be undisturbed, to be quiet, to be undisturbed, to be at peace. Now, let's look at another definition of shakat, or a more clearer definition of shakat. And here I titled this one social distancing because that's what we're seeing. So we saw the earth is sitting still, people at home doing nothing. Okay. Now, shakat can also be to rest, to have quiet, to lie down, to fall. It is used of one whom no one harasses. It is used of one whom no one harasses. So in other words, social distancing. You cannot come near me. Don't harass me. And who harasses no one. So you don't harass me and I don't harass you. Social distancing, which sometimes arises from fear. Why aren't we coming near each other? Because we're scared of COVID-19. A person who does nothing remains inactive, hence used of God when he does not afford aid. Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence? I mean, it sounds like a duck, it looks like a duck, and it's quacking like a duck. People staying away from each other because of fear. Social distancing. God is angry with the Gentiles. Zechariah chapter 1 verse 18. And I am sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they held forward the affliction. So the Gentiles held forward God's judgment on his people. But they took it too far. The second Exodus. Zechariah chapter 1. Therefore thus saith the Lord, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith the Lord of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. This verse ties into other studies we have done whereby we have shown that Israel will go back home and rebuild Jerusalem and the temple along with the aid of the Gentiles. Zechariah chapter 2 verses 1 through 3. I lifted up mine eyes again and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, Whither goest thou? And he said unto me, To measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I have said, the Lord will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, said the Lord. For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of heaven, said the Lord. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughters of Babylon. So, in Zechariah chapter 1, we see a line being stretched out upon Jerusalem. In Zechariah chapter 2, we see that a measuring line is being drawn. Why? To measure Jerusalem. Why? Because God's people are coming back. Why? Because they are fleeing Babylon. So the earth is still and at rest. People are not coming out of their homes because of fear. Because they don't want to be, I won't harass you, you won't harass me. Why? Because of fear. Social distancing. I'm not making this up. That's what I'm seeing. Those who scattered Israel judged the four horns. Zechariah chapter 1. Then lifted I up mine eyes and saw, and behold, four horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And the Lord showed me four carpenters. Then said I, What come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah, to scatter it. Gentiles kicked out of the land. We see that the four horns represent the Gentile nations that scattered Israel. And the four carpenters are coming to kick them out of the land. Why? Because Israel is returning. Why? Because she's fleeing Babylon. Why? Because Babylon is persecuting her. Why? Because God is going to judge the Gentiles and they are ready to fight. As I showed in my last teaching, prepare for war. War between the Most High and the Gentile nations. God is coming back to get his people. This is the story. It has always been there, but the Gentiles have lied to you, and they conditioned your pastors, whether they black or white, to ignore it all. Because they knew they had a judgment day coming, and now it is here, and now they got us locked down because they know that the Most High is coming with his arm stretched out. Conclusion. Timing-wise, it all seems to add up. And the fact that the entire globe seems to be at rest as prophesied here in Zechariah chapter 1, and the following verse seem to denote our Exodus means that Israel should make sure that their hearts are right before God. There is a reason our African brothers and sisters are getting kicked out of China because of a supposed COVID-19 infection. It is time for all of Israel to return home. Both the scattered and the dispersed will have to return to Africa and then to Zion. It is time for both the northern and southern tribes to return. No longer will Israel rely on the other nations for aid and military support because Israel will be back in a close relationship with their God. The Gentiles have been warned, but judgment is here now. Pray that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that are coming upon the world. World War III and darkness is what is next on the horizon, probably associated with additional judgment from the heavens. So I want to let you know, family, this is what I see. I wanted to share it with you because it all seems to line up to me. And, my brother, I tell you, I've been saying, it seems to be there. I'm seeing every sign. And now we're in lockdown. And so the signs are there, family. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear. Now, I'm going to put this caveat in there because, you got the jokers who are going to come around. And if nothing happens in a timely manner, they're going to say, well, how come y'all still here? I thought the second Exodus was supposed to come. I'm not a prophet. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm sharing what I see. I have to put this in there because people cannot accept it for what it is. It is what I see in the scriptures that I'm sharing with you. Could I be right? Yes. Could I be wrong? Yes. I'm sharing with you what I see. I never claimed to be a prophet. I'm a teacher. And I'm sharing with you what the Most High has revealed to me. And so we shall see whether or not these things come to pass. So support us. We would like to thank all of those who support our ministry. We really do love you all and appreciate your support, especially with the hard times we all are living in today. For those who have not supported us and would like to, please see the information below. www.patreon.com/TEOTW. Cash App, $TEOTW 7101. I thank your family, for supporting us. I really do appreciate it. In these hard times, we have to look out for one another. And also, make sure that, we continue to pray. I know the fast is over. And God will answer our prayer as a collective. And all of Israel is praying. Some Israelites are doing longer fasts. But do as you're led of God. If God wants you to continue fasting, continue. Because these days are evil and the enemy is coming after us. It's all about us. The reason why all of this is happening now is because the 400 years is over. So I want to let you know, family, look up. Lift up your head, for your redemption draweth nigh. Israel, your captivity is ending.